Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Turf Today, brought to you by Toro. We have recorded this thing on the Superintendent Network, and you gotta subscribe to the YouTube channel because more and more videos are getting loaded, whether it's content pieces, stories from different courses, tournaments, and of course, the video versions of these shows. My name is Adam Kershane, one of your co-hosts, joined by Brian Laurent. We're very happy to be here today, folks. Number 80, featuring Tanner Coffman, who's the director of turf over at the SoFi Center, and he runs the agronomy and everything else that goes on for the TGL. So very, very anticipated interview. This one blew us away. Anybody who likes golf or likes Tiger or likes the TGL, I mean, you got to hear this. So much cool stuff packed into this episode. Also want to mention everybody going down to San Diego. As you've probably heard by now, we are having a happy hour at Whiskey Girl, and that's going to be Tuesday evening, 4 o'clock to 6:30. Just have to sign up. You can go to our Instagram, our link tree, and you can sign up there. Or you know what? Just show up. Nothing wrong with just showing up and saying hi, having a few drinks. If you're an SN member, you're going to get a bunch of free stuff, which is, it's always good to pay. It always pays to be a member. And yeah, so we can't wait to see everybody down there. We're also going to be on the show floor on the Wednesday. We're going to be kicking around. Just check out the Instagram, follow us. We're going to be putting up a lot of stuff. We'll definitely be at the Toro booth. We can tell you that. We'll be at the Andersons booth, and we'll be kicking around a few other places. So you will be able to find us. We printed a ton of stickers, so come and see us so you can get yours. If you go to turftodayshop.com right now, we have a lot of great stuff on there. The Greenkeeper hat is very, very popular. We've sold a ton of those. So if you want yours, a lot of colors, check them out. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Always reach out to us with questions and concerns because we are here for you. We will be back with more right after this. Turf Today is brought to you by Toro. Imagine a fairway mower that drives itself. A GPS-guided sprayer that's so precise it virtually eliminates overlap. Or a battery-powered commercial mower that can handle the toughest of grass from dawn till dusk. This isn't just a vision for the future. It's what's happening now at Toro. They're constantly working on solutions based on real input from real customers. So follow Toro on Instagram or X and stay up to date on how Toro is always solving and always evolving.
What's up, man?
I thought for a second we were in the same hoodie. I was like, ooh, team outfits.
I almost wore that, but I literally I got the new ones in.
Ooh, that's fresh.
Yeah. So I'll be
Nice.
bringing a few out to San Diego for you.
Nice. I appreciate that. That's nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
they turned out much better. So the first batch didn't turn out very good. So we after some back and forth, we got it all squared away and we got the new ones in. So gonna have some sweatshirts online here shortly.
Nice. That's the levelware stuff, right?
Levelware stuff is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, one of my favorite sweatshirts. So yeah, got some new gear. Might put it out later today or tomorrow if possible, and see if we can't ship a few out before leaving on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some people that would want one of those for the show or maybe for the tournament. Why not?
Yep. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I should bring them and sell them. When we have our little happy hour or something, bring a couple to sell. I just don't know if I'd have I just don't. I've got Square and all that kind of stuff. I haven't had to use it in quite a while, so we'll see what kind of initiative I get between now and then, and
How much stuff you can pack in your golf bag, right?
well, that's the big thing, man. I mean, we're gone. I'm gone Wednesday to Friday, and that's enough. I mean, I'm already thinking I might have to do laundry out in San Diego once, so
Probably.
we'll
Yep.
see. We'll see. Unless I can just pack basically the whole wardrobe between a suitcase and golf bag. I don't know.
It's a golf trip. You're going for more than 7 days. You're probably gonna have to do some
Well,
laundry. You never know. Depending on how many
yeah,
pairs of boxers you bring. Like I always bring a couple
right.
extra. So
Well, and the thing too, like for this trip, it's, any of these business type trips, I feel like you're going to always have to pack casual stuff for some of the evenings. You're going to have to pack some of the business like stuff for the conference days. And so then do you bring your suit, your jacket, and there's just all sorts of stuff. And plus, you never know what the weather is going to be.
Hmm.
Looking at the forecast, it's going to be mid 50s, so that's layers,
That's
right? And
layers.
so yeah, that stuff just adds up quickly. It's not Canada layers, but
No.
it adds up.
But you're thinking, well, I'm going to go down to, San Diego. It's in California. It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yep. No,
Maybe
like
not.
we talked about on our call yesterday, it was 80 degrees I think in San Diego yesterday, and I watching the tournament out there, it looked like they had some pretty high winds. Looked
Hmm.
like the cold front was blowing in. I mean, it's only going to be a high of like 55, 56 for the next couple days. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we get when we make it out that way.
And hopefully things have calmed down a little bit. But that'll be
Yeah.
cool though, because the golf tournament is being bookended by two PGA tournaments. Some people are going to be
Right.
playing with grandstands and things still set up, which is really, really neat. I loved your comment
Yeah.
about we're going to fill those stands too. There's going to be tons of people showing up to watch.
That's right. If you're not playing in the tournament and you're in San Diego for the conference, come out and watch everyone hack it around in the 4-inch Kikuyu rough
Yes.
out there at Torrey.
Oh, we're in trouble.
The over under on golf balls lost in that rough is probably going to be about 10 per person.
Yeah, that's all anybody's going to be talking about is how many balls did you guys lose out there?
Oh my God, I caddied for a good friend of mine, an old college teammate of mine. He plays on the what's called the Advocates PGA Tour. It's the APGA. They actually play. They play this week as well with the tour during the Farmers. They play I believe it's the North course. I can't remember which is the tournament course, the North or the South. But
God
they
always,
play.
yeah.
Yeah, they play the non big one. I think it's the North course. They play it on Saturday, and then they play the South, which is like the big one that's hosted the Open and all that. They play that one on Sunday, and they're on Golf Channel and all that. And and when I caddied for him on the South course, the championship course, they had spotters, thankfully, on every par four, par five. Otherwise, we would have had like a 6 or 7 hour round trying to hunt for golf balls because that rough is so thick and you cannot find the golf ball in that. If you're literally like, if you're a step offline into the rough, it's really challenging to find the golf ball. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. I'm excited to hopefully have the opportunity to play out there and I think, fingers crossed, I think the events we're playing in are on the championship course. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule. They're using five different properties for all the different tournaments, so
Yeah.
we could be at any of them. But I mean, there's a lot of nice golf courses over there. So either way, it'll be fun.
Yep. Yep. It's going to be a great time no matter what. We're going to be in California. Hopefully it's going to be sunny, even if it is a little chilly. It beats what I just did this morning, which is shovel snow. So,
Yes, always
yeah,
beats shoveling snow.
I'm sure you've done that a few times this year so far.
Hmm. Yep, it keeps you in shape up here when you can't be out going for long walks or biking or anything like that. You just grab the snow shovel and it'll get the heart rate going.
I thought I would be good having three teenage boys in the house, but no, no, it's
No,
still
they don't
dad's
want to yet.
responsibility.
It's
No, it's going to get to the point where they're forced to do it. So, yeah, and maybe that's a parenting fail that they're not doing more of it. So we'll see.
maybe well that first
Yeah,
time your son wants to get his car out of the driveway and the plow goes by.
that's
Sorry,
it.
bud. You got to
That's
get out
it.
there.
I'm too much of a softie. I went out this morning and blew all the snow off and cleaned off all the cars for my son, for my wife, for myself, all that kind of stuff. I should probably just, the wife's car obviously it's a no-brainer. You got
You
to do
got to
that
do that
one.
one.
But
Yeah.
yeah, the kid's car, like, dude, let's go.
Hmm.
Time to grow up.
Well, it's one of those things once he gets older and he gets screwed over with it one time and he's going to be like, oh, my dad is so great. He used to do this for me all the time. Now I'm out here chipping ice off my windshield.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
Just a
fortunately
good
for
dad.
us, we don't get as much snow as you. I mean, they had a 2 hour delay this morning. We probably got I don't know, maybe an inch or two overnight. So it's not like
Okay.
it's anything crazy where we're gonna get, snowed in or anything.
It's time for Ask the Agronomist, presented by the Andersons.
Okay, we're back with another Ask the Agronomist segment sponsored by the Andersons. And joining us again is agronomist Ben Pease. Ben, before we get into our question today, I wanted to ask you about the Andersons and, why did you guys get into sponsoring a segment on the Turf Today podcast?
Yeah, so I think we want to partner with Turf today because you guys have the ears of a lot of the end users of our products. And I want to give a face to someone that's kind of usually behind the scenes on the development of these products. And these products usually come from suggestions from end users that are your followers. So I think it completes the circle. They'll know that their concerns are being met, but we're out here to educate them on the process and help some questions get answered, and just put a face to the big Anderson's name and the face to some of the innovation. Not that it's all mine, but I play a part sometimes.
Absolutely. Well, everybody's got a part to play, and like you
Sure.
said, education is huge, and that's why we wanted to get you guys involved. And innovation is a huge word thrown around our industry right now, and you guys are behind a big part of that. So talk about that for a minute as well.
Yeah, so we always like to try to figure out how to add value to the products that you're going to be using every day. So, we're going to go fertilize. Why not put a fertilizer with some humic in there, or some carbon source as well? So we can do two things at once and create better turf grass, create better soils. So that's a big driver. It's just make things more efficient and effective.
Awesome. Well, we're very, very excited to have you guys aboard. And anybody looking to ask a question or, get something that you've always wondered about answered, definitely reach out to us because we'll be happy to get that answered for you. Our question today comes from Dave Bilecki, our good friend, Voice Talk Dave from New York. He is wondering about checking the mix solution pH. Is that necessary?
Well, we're mostly granular, but we do have some foliar products as well. So, but yes, his question's a good one. The general answer is yes. Checking the pH of your spray mix solution is a good thing to do. Now, you don't have to do it every time, but really the main times you probably want to do it is when you're adding something new to the tank. So if it's a product that you haven't used as part of your spray program before, that's a great time to get a test kit or send it off. You really want to make sure that you haven't created some sort of situation in the tank that you're not planning for. So get your water tested too is a good starting point, because water has a big effect on the pH of your spray solution. Those are good things to think of probably at the beginning of the year, the water one, but throughout the year, if you're going to try out a new product, jar test is always great. You can pH test your little jar test mixture. You're not having a whole tank mixed up before you have a problem. That's a good way to go about it. But yeah, I'd check it. If the pH of your spray solution is off, if it's too high or too low, it could really impact the effectiveness of all your products, the efficacy. We could hit some compatibility issues. So you don't want a tank full of sludge or a bunch of clogged nozzles or filters, and we can avoid that if we keep the pH correct. If you do some testing, for most turf spray situations, you're going to want the pH just slightly acidic. I say between 6 and 7 is probably your best bet. Now you can get away with a little bit up and down, but in the 6s is probably optimum. When you get to those pH extremes, you could get some phytotoxicity if it's too acidic, or if it's too basic, then you're going to have organophosphates not work as well, herbicides not work as well. So keeping it towards the middle is the best idea.
Well, right on. I guess my only question would be then, if you were dealing with a solution that was way too high or way too low, what would be the best way to adjust it to try and get it to, that optimal level?
Basically, if your pH is too high, you got to add some sort of acidifying agent. So many adjuvant companies make good ones out there. So if all of a sudden you test and it reads 8 point something, I would highly recommend using some sort of acidifying agent to at least get it down to 7.5 or 7, something like that. Now, if it's the other side, if it's too low, we're going to add something called a buffering agent, and that brings the pH of the solution up. So if you're, again, the extremes, if you're down below 5.5, you really want to try to get into the 6s. So you get down below 5.5 or 4.5, you could have some efficacy issues, some compatibility issues. So yeah, acidifying agents if it's too high, buffering agent if the pH is too low.
Nice. Got to get it right in that sweet spot.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right, Ben. Well, we appreciate you stopping by this week, and we will see you next week with another great question for Ask the Agronomist.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And everybody out there listening, if you do have a question, reach out to us, send it in to us, or anybody you know that works for the Andersons, and they'll get it to us as well. Did you see the snow in the south, like down in Louisiana and some of those places?
Yeah.
They're shutting down
Yeah.
the highways and airports. Like,
It's crazy.
yeah, I was
Yes.
messaging people down there. I was like, "Do you have a shovel?" They're like, nope, no shovel, no salt, no grit. Like, there's people going out. I saw videos of guys have like salt grinders on their driveway and their front steps, trying to use like little Himalayan salt grinders. But like the city doesn't
That's
have
great.
anything, right? There's
No.
there's no planning for that. There's no money spent on
No.
that stuff down there because it's not a thing. And then all of a sudden, whoop, foot of snow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember just when I was in Houston, a week or two ago, they were preparing for just, a cold spell. I think high, or lows in the 20s, mid 20s or something. And they were, I think, giving guys time off so they could go home and wrap their pipes because,
Oh,
a lot of the pipes aren't insulated in houses and, so they get those cold stretches where things freeze, having very limited insulation that stuff is tend to burst. So I remember a couple times. I mean, Dallas got hit a couple years ago, and they weren't prepared for it. They don't get that type of weather all the time, and it just causes chaos. It's crazy.
we were in Mississippi the one year and it snowed. And so we called the coach and we're like, so like the whole city's, shut down. We're obviously not coming to practice, right? He's like, you guys are all Canadians. Most of you are driving four-wheel drive vehicles. We'll see you at practice. So the one guy in our team had a truck. He still had his snow tires on. He never took his snow tires off. He was down driving around Mississippi. He's driving by people, giving them the finger and waving and stuff. And oh my gosh, the only people driving in the whole state probably that day was
Yeah.
the hockey players from Canada. It was so funny.
I saw a video on one of the social media platforms, I think in Texas, a guy being pulled by, a Chevy Tahoe or something. He had the rope and he had his cowboy hat on, he's doing the lasso thing. It's great.
Oh man, yeah, you got to have some fun with it, right? But it's
Yeah.
funny, like, people never seen that before, and all of a sudden you wake up and it's like, what's going on outside?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw something from Darren Davis too, where he went up to he must have gone up to his folks' house or something up in maybe Tallahassee, and he was walking around in the snow in Florida. It was freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's unheard of. Unheard
Yeah.
of. Lots of
Yeah.
things going on these days.
Busy.
Tanner, how's it going, man?
Morning, guys. How are you?
Hey, Tanner, how are you, sir?
Pretty good. Just living the dream down here in Southern Florida. So,
Yeah, you
Yeah, did you get
joining?
the cold snap?
it's very cold, but I haven't become a Floridian yet, so I'm still okay.
Nice.
That's good. That's good. What did I see? Your Tennessee? Where are you from?
Yeah, originally from Tennessee.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Hendersonville boy. My last year playing hockey, I was down in Huntsville, Alabama, so it's not too far south from where you were.
Not too far. It's a couple hours.
A couple hours down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
are
what?
you coming to us from the SoFi Center right now in the basement?
Pretty much. Yeah. We got little work trailers just outside of the SoFi Center, so that's where I'm at now.
Right on. We're very excited to interview you and talk about some of the TGL stuff, but we'd love to get into your story and hear about, upbringing, getting into turf.
Yeah. Um, I mean, my story kind of jumps around a lot, and I think that's kind of playing to my benefit now. Um, but starting all the way back of how I got into turf. When I was in college, I actually wanted to be like a farm consultant. So I really loved the soil chemistries. Back in high school, in my FFA days, I was a soil judger. which is nerdy, but I thought it was one of the coolest things I got to do was, travel around to these different farms and get in these holes and look at dirt, give
That's
it different
awesome.
ratings, see what's in it, give recommendations on, what that soil type is best used for, and, what kind of changes would you make if you wanted to do X, Y, and Z crops instead of the crops that are already there. So that kind of soil chemistry stuff really intrigued me. And at that time, I had no idea that sports turf or uh, any kind of turf grass management was a thing. Um, Once I got into college, there's a group of cool kids in one of my soils class, and that was the class that I really liked the most was soils, another nerdy thing. But this group of cool kids, they were all like almost in uniforms every day. I'm like, what are these guys? And they were just golf course guys. They were young kids doing golf course stuff, taking soils classes, getting a turf degree. And I was like, well, I mean, I like that. And talking to them, they're kind of like, what you're trying to do with farm consulting is exactly kind of what we do in the turf industry. Um, it's just the crop, quote unquote, the crop is grass. I'm like, well, that's cool. Good for you, but I'm going to keep going down my route. And then kind of got my first internship was actually at a golf course because that was the easiest place to find an internship. Not a lot of farms do interns. Um, and that's kind of where I fell into it, started to love it. Realized that was the route that I wanted to take, that grass was the crop that I decided to grow. Um, Moving on from there, as I started to explore the turf industry, I really fell in love with um, the sports turf aspect of it. But I was in golf for almost just over 7 years, I believe. So I was hopping around different country clubs in Tennessee before I finally hopped into minor league baseball for a short stint of time, and then jumped from minor league baseball over to the MLS with professional soccer stadiums. Um, Went out to Salt Lake City for a couple of years, did their MLS stadium and training facility out there. I went down to Austin FC, built a stadium and a training facility from scratch. So that was an expansion team that I got to be a part of. So got to see that process from start to finish, which was absolutely incredible.
You
Left
worked with
Austin.
Weston?
Yeah, Weston Applefeller.
Oh,
Was,
he's the best, man.
he was down there. Brought me on very early, which was very good for both of us. And I think for the organization itself, being able to bring on a groundskeeper or someone who has that type of knowledge that early in construction can only be beneficial and sustainable for the future of that place. So um, I always told Weston, like, what he did was my goal in my career was to find another expansion team and help them design, go from start to finish of a project, and then run it when it was over. And that's kind of what I'm doing here at TGL. Never thought it would be an indoor golf league or anything like that. I thought I'd still be in soccer. But yeah, long journey to get here. Jumping different state, team to team. But it all kind of led me here, and that's good.
How did you find this job?
That's actually a funny story, and my fiance likes the story just because she was there. Um, Girlfriend at the time, we were just sitting on the couch watching TV, and she's ranting about something, and I can tell like she was kind of pausing and waiting for me to respond. And I had just gotten an email on my phone, and I looked at it, I was like, I'm not ignoring you, but I need to read this. And the email was, I thought it was spam, to be honest. I stopped following golf once I got into sports turf. I followed the turf aspect of golf, but not didn't really follow. I didn't know that Tiger and Rory had this new league coming out, and I didn't know any of that. And this recruiter reached out to me and was basically saying, "Hey, this is the general concept. Um, we're looking for someone with golf experience, but also need someone with stadium arena experience, someone that's really good with technology, both um, general technology and agronomic technology." And your name came up, and I'm reading this email. I'm just like, this feels like spam because I feel like they've just taken like the keywords out of my Instagram or Twitter X algorithm, and they're just throwing these keywords at me. I'm like, there's no way this is real. Indoor golf, real grass, uh, you know, Tiger Woods startup, creating not only a team but an entire league. Um, and so I read that email probably 3 or 4 times, and this was almost 2 years ago. And so I'm like, well, let me Google it and see what I can find. Started to Google it, and at that time there was, maybe two headlines of Tiger and Rory were officially going to do this, but there was no news or information on it. Luckily for me, they did mention that Dr. Trey Rogers, I believe up in Michigan State, was kind of consulting for the league at the time until they could bring on a groundskeeper like myself. And so I was like, well, do you mind if I know Trey enough. Do you mind if I reach out to Dr. Rogers and kind of poke his brain about it? And they're like, absolutely. And that's what I did. And I was very blunt with Dr. Rogers. I'm like, all right, you got to convince me that this is legit. Not only that this is legit, but this can work, right? Uh, they're talking about greens that spin around and move up and down, and tee boxes that go in and out from outside to inside. Like, I've seen technology like that, but are these guys invested to make it happen? And Dr. Rogers was like, this is the real deal. Getting in on it early is going to be amazing for you. And if you can make it work, I would highly, highly suggest making it work. And so I took that leap of faith on something that I knew nothing about, and I'm glad I did, because it's been a journey so far.
That email didn't like say, you're going to inherit money from a Arabian prince, or, we need your last 4 of your social security, your mother's maiden name, and, that's good.
Well, that stuff's not in my algorithm, but
Yeah.
nerdy golf indoor stadium with Tiger Woods, that's probably my entire algorithm. With technology, I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it. Sure, why not?
That's crazy.
So props to the recruiter for this place, because she knew exactly what to say and how to say it to get me interested.
So keep us going. What is it like? You obviously have to leave your other job and then you make the move. And we know last year there was a little bit of a mishap with the original plans and the original building. So take us through all that.
Yeah. So very early on, I was brought in the summer of 23. Yes, summer of 23. Um, at that point, the league was supposed to start January 2024, which, as you alluded to, we did have some issues in, I believe it was the first week of November. We had an air supported dome that lost power, big chain of events. Don't want to get too involved in that, but if you Google it, you'll see the photos. Big dome, and it didn't just come down. It got ripped to shreds. It looked like a tornado went right through the place. And at that time, I was actually inside the building as the dome was coming down.
Oh, wow.
And it was funny, because what you don't see from the photos of that day is before that dome ripped, it was filling up with water. It had kind of, recessed down, and it was filling up with water like a big swimming pool. And one of my biggest memories from that day is, getting on the interwebs, getting on Google, and trying to figure out how big of a patch do they make for these inflatable tents, because if they make a 7 foot patch, maybe we'll cut a 5 foot hole in the roof and let the water come down so we can take the weight and the strain off of the dome. And looking back now and seeing those photos, it's like we were worried about a 5 foot patch, and here we are. We've got 300 foot rips going all the way from end to end. There's nothing we could have done at that point to save it. So, very very interesting day. People ask me like, was that a blessing in disguise? And I was like, well, would we have made it to January 2024 with the product? Absolutely. No doubt in my mind, would we have been able to do the season at the original time? Pushing it back a year, was that worth it? Was that, we were very, very invested in making sure that extra year that we got was put to good use. And obviously I was scared for my job because I was like, I'm a groundskeeper. I've already been here months and still don't have grass. And now we're basically starting from scratch. So I was a little worried about my job at the moment. And it was great because about a month after that, I was approached and was like, hey, we're going to build at the time we called it a content studio, but it's basically a big performance center. A place that the players could come in and play and train and kind of get used to the simulator, but also a place for us to take advantage of the year that we have to test different things, build different things. What do we want to change? What do we want to make better? What do we want to eliminate? So it was a full training testing site, and they wanted me to spearhead kind of getting that built and kind of running the day-to-day operations of that testing facility. And I was like, oh, easy. Like, that's what I do. Like, I'm good at construction. I'm good at rigging, all that kind of stuff. And then like 2 days into it, all these server racks start showing up, and then the hydraulic jacks for moving the green up and down start showing up, and all this technology is rolling in the building. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, maybe I don't know as much as I thought I did. And I'm
crazy.
As groundskeepers, we've done things that are so far outside of our scope of work because that's almost expected of groundskeepers these days. That's just what you do. We're carpenters, we're masons, we do all that kind of stuff. And I'm very comfortable with that, small engine repair, all that kind of jazz. When it comes to technology, that's different. I consider myself a very tech advanced individual, especially in the agronomic world. I love all the technology of, agronomy, lighting systems, sub-air systems, testing protocols, different Clegg machines and stuff like that. I love it. But when you're talking about a projector that costs, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we have 9 of them stacked on top of each other with undulating green and spinning parts and stuff like that, I was lost. But looking back at it, I'm thrilled that I love the fact that I did that, just because that was an experience. And now that we're here at the SoFi Center, if there's a jack that breaks, I know just what to do. Like, I can run underneath the turntable, pinpoint where that cable is that needs to be unplugged or replaced, and I can do that almost faster than anybody, just because they were relying on me in our performance lab to learn and do all that kind of stuff on top of the grass job. So it's weird. A lot of my time here so far, in the 19 months that I've been here, has been non-turf related, not grass related. I focused a lot on the grass for my own sake. I use that lab as a way to test divot recovery and different tactics of how to get trays in and out and all that kind of stuff. But the company was focused more on the technology and the game aspect of it.
Sounds like a true sports turf role, right? I mean, that's in my experience dealing with, I've spent a lot of time with sports turf managers, and it's about 90% anything other than the grass, whether it's
It's
in
what it feels like.
fields and yeah. So
Yeah,
so
definitely what it feels like.
so going back to kind of, when things went south with the original facility, did you guys maintain that original infrastructure, or was the SoFi Center, is that a brand new something that you guys totally pivoted and started from scratch?
Yes, and yes, and yes, and no. So I think um, the footprint is the same. So the concrete slab that we had poured for that original bubble, I think we expanded it just a little bit, but we're built right on that same concrete pad. Instead of the inflatable dome, we are in an assembled steel building that can withstand Category 5 hurricane. Um, if you come out and see this place, it's very well built, overbuilt. All the stuff inside is crazy. Some of the benefits of going away from a inflatable bubble to an actual steel building is that we have a grid on the ceiling. And so when it was a bubble, everything had to be ground supported. You can't hang anything from the ceiling. You can't hang, you know, 97 spinning lights for broadcast. You can't hang speakers and stuff like that. Now that we've got this, full structured building, we've got so much crap up there in the roof, and it's great. Our projectors are hung up there, the lights are hung up there. I've got a turf trolley system. Um, Still trying to think of a good name for it. So if anybody out there has a good name for what we call the little trolley monorail, it's just a chain motor that drives up and down an I-beam. And the chain motor comes and picks up the trays of grass for me, takes it off to a spot that I could either load it on a large dolly or just load it straight to a forklift and take it back outside. None of that would have been possible with the old style building versus the new style. But our ownership group is fantastic. Obviously, when that disaster happened, Tiger and Nori were very supportive of, what do we need to do to make this worth it? Like, do we need to reevaluate how we're doing? This is a chance to do this all over again. How do we want to do it again? And so it blessing in disguise, but also, we took really good advantage of it.
That's so cool. So leading up to the launch of the league, and congratulations, by the way, it was an amazing launch. Everybody's, it's been really well
Thank you.
received. Everybody's very excited about it. But
Yeah, it's
leading up
very
to
different.
that, was there any big challenges you guys had to overcome, or anything people don't kind of know about, whether it was the turf or something in the building?
Yes, there's a lot of challenges. I'll kind of stick with the turf aspect just because that's my bread and butter. That's my actual job title. Um, so we've got 2,000 square feet of grass, which isn't that much compared to traditional golf courses or even sports fields. Um, but this 2,000 square feet of grass is basically used like a driving range every day, and then expected to look perfect and pristine on a match night, which the past 3 weeks we've had one match a week on Tuesdays. Next week we've got a really big match of Tiger versus Rory, um, and so that's going to be awesome. And then I believe we have a break, and then when we come back from that break, we have a triple header on a Monday. So three different matches in one day, and then the following Tuesday, right after that, we have another match. And so, how do you keep this grass looking presentable? Because my goal is to, at the very beginning of each match, it's a brand new, pristine piece of grass that's, fully recovered. There's no divots. Perfect, what we would say, perfect for prime time. But if I'm going through, 12 trays of grass per match is what I feel like we're doing, that's just not sustainable. So what kind of technology could I utilize to help divots grow in faster? Um, Kind of toured around, looked at some of the local golf courses, looked at their driving ranges. These players are playing a full 15 hole course. I say full 15. TGL League is 15 holes. And they're doing it from these tee boxes that are only 7 foot by 7 foot. And so instead of those shots being spread out across hundreds of acres or thousands of acres, all of those shots are happening on that one of four playing surfaces. We got two roughs and two fairways. And so kind of talking with the players about their divot pattern, luckily these players can place their ball on the fairway instead of drop it. So they almost treat it like a driving range. Well, they'll line up their ball directly behind the divot of the last shot. And, that's helpful and beneficial for me. But our grass farm that we're doing all of in the golf world, our nursery where we're doing the recovery, it's a concrete slab. The grass we're using is the Game On grass with Chad Price out in Carolina Green. He does the Tahoma 31 grown on plastic. And so that's what we're using here. And it just goes straight onto the concrete because we don't want that root system digging into an actual root zone. And so I'm maintaining grass on concrete in southern Florida, which holds water because the concrete company didn't pour it correctly.
Jeez.
And then if the grass is in the trays at the time and the trays are out there, I think a lot of misconceptions about those trays. I know you've seen them. They're 12 feet tall, but the grass is only in the top 3 inches. And then the rest is just blank, open, empty space. So these nights that we're having here, Brian, you're down here in Florida, right?
No, I'm in Ohio. I've spent a lot of time down there, though.
I thought you were down here.
Right now, I wish I was down there.
Yeah.
We're having 70-degree days, which is cold for these guys down here. But then at night, if we're getting 45-degree nights, usually soil temperatures don't drop that drastically overnight because it's in a root zone. What I'm basically doing is suspending a piece of sod up in the air. So every time that the ambient temperature drops, so does my soil temperature. Every time the ambient temperature goes up, so does my soil temperature, because it's just so open to that open air. So long-winded way of saying, this seems easy. This seems like it should be a no-brainer. Even I said the same thing when I started here. This is a 7x7 piece of grass. I should be able to spend, my 40-hour work week. If I wanted to cut it with scissors and hand pick every little piece of POA out of there, I can, which is correct. But there's just so many new challenges that are arising because of that. And then I think Chad Price put it real well. He was talking to someone about our project and I was standing there. He's like, a lot of people don't realize the smaller the piece of grass is, the harder it is to maintain, because on a golf course, you have these really nice, $100,000 fairway mowers. They do a really good job. They groom it, they clean it, they cut it, looks great. You have these big old aerifiers, you have these big old pieces of equipment and machinery that we rely on as superintendents to do all of our mechanical work on the course. You drop that down to a 7x7 piece of grass. Obviously, I'm not taking a big 5-gang fairway mower over it. Ideally, I'd be taking a greens mower over it, but this is a foot up in the air and it's only 7 feet. So you have to be a really good greens mower operator to even get close to getting a decent cut. And you can't line up the trays back and forth because the edges of the trays sit above the grass. So how do you maintain and keep this professional level of grass on this tiny little piece that none of the traditional equipment that we're used to using is applicable to use for it? So I'm going down these rabbit holes of, residential style mowers and aerifiers and things like that. And, I don't want to be a spokesperson, but shout out to Toro for some of their home residential equipment that they've been doing is remarkable. some of it has just absolutely saved my life. And then I think there was a post someone made of the mower that I was using. Was a little $99 Scott's mower that you can get at Home Depot. The ground driven reel mower. Um, I've modified that to go lower than what it's actually supposed to be doing. That's what I actually use in the trays. And then I've got an actual, Toro greens mower for the stuff that's sitting on the ground. So, um, we're doing everything that a typical traditional golf course would do. We just have to find different ways of doing it, both with equipment and timing and everything like that.
We certainly don't mind you shouting out Toro on this show, so they're big
I
supporters of ours.
figured.
But so you mentioned some of the temperature changes down there. I mean, are you doing anything? Like, are you using covers? Is there anything you're doing to kind of protect that temperature?
Yeah. So I've got the traditional grow tarps, and that's great because in the sports world, those are always the worst days to cover, a soccer field or a football field in these grow tarps, because in the sports world, sometimes they're only down a day or they're down 2 days, and it takes so long to get those out. But benefit of a 7x7 piece of grass, I just got this tiny little blanket that I can put over, and I don't even put like sod staples in it. I use just clips, like clothes hangers almost, just clip it around to the edge and I move on to the next one. I do have some grow lights, but they're LED grow lights, so they're not really putting out any heat. And so I have gotten some high pressure sodium lights just to give us some heat. And then a lot of floor drying fans. This past match, we've had rain for every day the past week. I haven't seen the sun in 7 or 8 days. So I had to move the grass in 2 days before the match just to start getting it to dry out. And so getting all those, heat lamps and grow lights and fans up underneath it to start drying it out, that's kind of the stuff that we have to think about that most golf courses don't. Obviously, they worry about winter kill and, keeping the soil temperatures at a decent range, but they're not going to be on primetime ESPN on Monday, every week. So for me, that's a weekly occurrence.
You probably go to Amazon and just get a bunch of like heated blankets and stuff, right? And just
Ooh,
throw some heated blankets down.
Could, yeah.
That'd be interesting.
It's actually funny. Last night I brought in the grass that I'm planning to use for this upcoming match. I pulled my carts out of the little ground shop, the ground storage area that I have, and I just put them all in there, just to keep them a little bit warmer. I was like, it's raining. It's not getting sunlight anyways, so might as well keep it warm. Yeah. And if you open the door to my shop right now, there's trays of grass and probably 14 like work light lamps that you buy at Home Depot surrounding it, and then fans going everywhere. And it looks like I'm growing multiple types of grass. It looks a little sketchy in there.
Well, if anybody's checking on you to see if you're doing your work or not, that's a big yes.
Yes. Yeah. Someone is.
That's the other thing thinking about. I mean, you've got the 7x7 pads or whatever, but out of that, they're really only using probably a 2x2 area. I don't think I've seen a single lefty on the in the matches yet. So I mean, that's really, they're standing on the one side of it and they're really just hitting divots out of a real small
they're really just staying in that front right corner. Which is great, because if I, get in a pinch, this season one, all of our golfers are righties.
Yeah.
So if they just destroy that during a match, we have an intermission after hole 9. I could come in with that chain motor, pick that piece of grass up, and instead of completely swapping it with a new piece, I could just rotate it.
Yeah.
Either 90 degrees or 180 degrees, and boom, they've got a whole nother perfect area of grass to hit off of because they were standing on it the last time. So that's very, very beneficial.
So speaking of working with these players, most superintendents have members in public golf and stuff. You're dealing with some of the top professional golfers in the world. What is that like, especially with guys like Tiger and Rory?
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually saying, last night, um, my starstruck habit has kind of gone away just because I've seen these guys so often now. But it's also the amount of prep work that I've done for some of these guys. I wouldn't say is fading, but I'm not losing sleep over, Tiger coming to visit. I think his first visit, I didn't sleep for a week, and I was just here trying to, grind out as much as I could, make it all perfect, Um, but like now we're getting to the point where almost every player has been in and they've experienced it. They've played it. Some players multiple times. Rory's been in here multiple times. Matt Fitzpatrick's been in here multiple times. Um, every time they come in, even on a match night, we're always asking for feedback. This is season one. If there's anything that we can do and change, we'd rather know now versus, season two, season three. Like what is on your mind? Um, and it's very nice because a lot of the feedback that we're getting is good feedback, but it dates back to, a year and a half ago when we were, doing a lab or a test facility of we knew this was going to be an issue. So how do we attack that? How do we address that now before a player, comes in? It's artificial grass if you're not on the tee boxes. So how do we make a player feel like that artificial grass is going to play like real grass? So the amount of testing that we did, and I've shared with some people, but like our putting surface is 7 different layers of material underneath that artificial turf just to make sure the bounce is correct, the roll is correct. If you're trying to spin or check the ball a certain way, it's going to act just like a traditional natural grass green. So the feedback that we're getting is a lot of the complimenting that, or it's questions on, why do we have X amount of sand? We use sand as our infill. Why do we have X amount of sand in this area and it's less over there? And then we can go back to our tests and studies of, over there, you're actually hitting against the grain of an artificial turf, which is so difficult. With more infill there, it's going to play more like playing into the grain with less infill. So the infills are different, but the playability is the same. And so that's kind of our goal. And we're using all these different data metrics to make sure that we're keeping it consistent, keeping it as playable as possible. But nothing's better than, especially the first time that these players would come through. I think Rory was one of my favorite ones. He walked up and he just slammed like a 310-yard drive, like as a warm up, and he kind of turned around. He's like, "Grass is really cool." And I was like, for that to be like the first thing that he says, I'm like, that's awesome.
Nice.
Surrounded by technology, you've got the world's largest simulator screen in front of you, and they're like, "We're hitting off real grass. This is cool." So awesome. You hit off real grass everywhere. So the fact that they're indoors and that's what they're thinking about is great. Tiger's first time in here was, I told you, I feel like I didn't sleep for a week because I was just dying to make sure everything was perfect. I spent so much time on the fairway tee boxes. I spent so much time on the green to make sure it was perfect. And the comment that he made about the grass was he hit a rough shot out of the rough. And then he kind of looked up. He's like, "That was really good." And then he walked away and came back with, like, no joke, he came back with like 10 balls. And in the rough, you have to drop it. And he starts dropping balls into the rough. And I think he talked about the rough for probably 5 full minutes on the rough was so good. The rough was perfect. Like, don't change the height. Don't change the density. Like, this is great. I love the rough. And in my head, I'm like, the rough is the least of my worries.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of time I've put into this to make sure this is perfect for you. And then you comment on something that I spent 5 minutes on. Like, it's funny, but it's nice to have those moments of like, oh, well, that's what I think the least of right now, just because it doesn't take as much maintenance or work as the rest of the stuff, but that's what he picked to talk about and to fall in love with. Um, so that was an interesting one. I mean, he did like the other grasses in the building, but for him to spend so much time looking at the rough was kind of an interesting thing,
Well, that's why we love him, right? Like he's just such an
right?
interesting guy. Yeah.
So cool.
A-Plus rewards are back. The Anderson's A-Plus rewards program offers turf managers the best opportunity to earn rewards on our newest and most popular products. Qualify with purchases of Contec DG, Fulltech SG, Castaway DG, Goosegrass, Crabgrass Control, and more. Don't miss this opportunity. The average reward for last year's program? More than $250. For a complete list of qualifying products, visit andersonspro.com. Limited time offer available to U.S. customers only.
So I want to know what kind of happens behind the scenes when you watch the production on TV. Everyone's using the same green every hole, and then they break and they go back over to the tee. But when they come back, any sand splash is gone, the holes moved, all that kind of stuff. What's happening that we're not seeing
Yeah.
once they get off the green?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Disney magic. You're the even if you're in-house, ESPN is good at not showing that kind of stuff. But even if you're in-house, the action is drawn towards what we call the screen zone. So while they're over on the screen zone, the green, that's I think it's 41 yards in diameter. That thing can spin a full 360 degrees. And then the different tiers of the green can undulate and go up and down with a full swing jack system. And so every single hole is completely different from the hole that they had just played before. So the spinning kind of changes how the player is approaching their ball coming onto the green. So if they do come up a little bit short, they can still play from inside the arena. And one shot, they may be chipping over a 6-foot knoll, but they can't even see the green. And then the next hole, they're chipping over a bunker, but they've got the knoll on the backside that they can kind of use as a backboard to bring the ball back down. So that's a really cool aspect of it. And then I love demoing the virtual green, which is the undulating of the greens. You can hit a putt and it'll go 2 cups to the right, and then we can change the green and you can hit that same putt and it'll go 2 cups to the left.
It's wild.
So if you've watched, and especially with the players mic'd up, it's difficult to read these greens because they do change every hole. And I'd be interested to know, I don't have these conversations with the players, but you're not outside. You're not using sunlight to read a green. You're indoors. You have broadcast lights shining down on you. You have a spider cam flying over your head. You got drone that's, zooming by your face. How are you reading these greens, and how much different is that in here compared to a traditional golf course? But yeah, it's funny. I've got a team and I usually hang out on the green side as well. So we've got 7 different cups that we can change the pin location, and every hole, we have a predetermined pin location of where we want that cup to be. So we pull a plug out just like you would on a traditional golf course. It's just artificial here. Pull that plug out, put a new flag in. One bit of information I doubt has been shown on TV, but we actually replaced the flag too for every hole. So every hole you did,
yeah. I saw him giving away a flag to a kid or something last week, and it
that's
had
right.
15 on it. So I figured you guys
15
were every hole.
So every hole we take off the flag from the previous hole and put on the new flag with the new hole number on it. And it's just one of those little things. Did we have to do that? No. Are most people even noticing that we did that? No. It's just a cool little bit of knowledge to make it feel more like a traditional golf course, because a lot of golf courses have something like that. Um, so yeah, bunkers get raked. The sand that lands on the green gets brushed away, picked up. Um, the pin changes, the green spins, the green changes undulation. Um, but what's also happening is the complete opposite of that. When the players are on the green, I've got different staff members that are on the tee boxes. They go and they fill the divots. We use like the Harold's divot recovery mix, green sand. They fill the divots. They pick up the divot shards that get kind of tossed around. They rake those bunkers. They, you know, we've got LED boards on the front and back that lay flat on the ground. Those get cleaned pretty much between every shot. So you don't see that kind of stuff on TV. And once you start to think of it, be like, they've played 15 holes and there's not one divot sitting out there. There's not one piece of, grass trash that's laying on the LED wall. Like what's going on there? And it's like, well, I got a killer staff that runs out there and tries to make it brand new for every single shot. So a lot of behind the scenes work.
Yeah. You mentioned you guys brush that sand off. Do you guys have a mechanical brush, or what do you guys use to get the sand splash off the greens?
A really good shot brush.
Okay.
There you go.
It's I mean that brings me to another conversation of going back to our testing. We had my boss had picked a sand before I had even joined, and in testing that sand, I was like, if you sprinkle this sand onto the putting surface, it the angles of it and the size of it doesn't go through the grass, so it kind of sits on top. And then if you put a ball over that, the ball starts, it's not a true roll. And so we started a hunt for new sand type. And I was just looking at the finest sands that I could find, but we wanted it to be pure white. And I probably looked just under 40 different types of sand. I had plastic bags all over my office of just sandbags, little Ziploc bags of different sand. And blindly, I chose, it's called SP55. If you Google that sand type, I only know of two places that it's used. One's Tiger's Backyard, and then the other is a major tournament that most people know about that's played in April.
Yep.
And so that sand, obviously, it's got a cool background. It's got a cool story. Legendary Golf Course uses it. For our purpose, it's fine enough to where when it hits the green, it'll nestle its way down into the green surface. And if it doesn't, a simple brush will push it down in there. And then post-match, we go through with some vacuums, and sometimes we have to kind of like vibe it out, but we clean up all that white sand that had gone into the turf, just so we don't create any hard spots or weird rolls in those areas over time.
Amazing. So much science goes into it.
Yeah.
I wanted to, so you had mentioned season 2. Obviously, this is something that's going to continue on. It'll probably grow a little bit. Have you guys talked about there being changes, or does it, want to kind of be the same product and just kind of grow it a little bit?
So I feel for the longest time, season 2 is just something no one's talking about. We need to get through at least the first half of season 1, see just how popular it is. Is it going to be huge, or is it just going to be big? So yes, there are conversations on season 2. Definitely going to happen. Definitely going to be the same concept of what you're seeing in season 1. But the best thing about this company, Tomorrow Sports, which is the parent company of TGL, there's no such thing as a crazy idea. There's no such thing as that's too far-fetched. This whole thing is a crazy idea. So when people bring up ideas, it's very open of like, okay, yeah, let's test it. Let's see what we can do. It's funny because the last 3 weeks that we were in our lab before we moved out and into the SoFi Center, we came up with that idea of that bunker lip that goes up and down.
Yeah, that thing is so cool.
Yeah, it was one of my colleagues, Ian. he was like, so hear me out. What if we had like a wall that like came out from the floor, and they had to at least chip over that wall? Because the issue we were having was, you'd be in a fairway bunker with a giant lip in front of you, but in our arena, you can just go grab your hybrid and smack a 200-yard shot out of it. It's like, you wouldn't have been able to do that in real life. So at least get something in front of them. We tried different like on-screen options. We thought about, what if the grounds crew like rolls out a little ramp or something like that to put it out in front. And then Ian came up with that little idea of a wall that they can hit over it. And I was like, you know what, let me build a prototype. So I came up with the little hinge system, and it's just a linear actuator that was underneath it that made it go up. And we're like, cool, like we definitely want to use this for season 2. And then about a month later, they're like, hey, can you get that done for season 1? I'm like, not sure. So obviously relying on our tech teams and our partners that we work with at Full Swing, that ramp that you see was just a last minute crazy idea. And it's so much more advanced than what the average viewer can see, because they just see it go up, sometimes 20 degrees, sometimes 45 degrees. But the backside, there's this whole code that communicates with the game, and the game determines how high that hill is or that lip is in front of you, turns that into a degree percentage. A human doesn't have to push a button. We just say, hey, this player's up, and then that lip will go up because it knows, all right, he's hitting from this sandbox. This is the lip that goes into it. So I kind of laugh and cry that we had to throw this lip together so last minute. But the real heavy lifting was on the coding side, getting the game to communicate with that lip and tell it exactly what to do and when to do it. But, that's just an example of a crazy idea can come up. My turf trolley, that was a crazy idea of like, I don't want to drive a forklift on the turf. Can I just drop it in from the ceiling? Like, sure, let's do that.
Go for it.
So with that in mind, I think season 2 is going to be awesome. I can tell you what I would like to see in season 2, but I'm just the superintendent. So,
Superintendent carries a lot of clout though. So
True.
It does, but I'm not the full decision maker on what happens out there. But in my head, I would love for the tee box to also undulate, like the green does. Maybe not, different hills and valleys, but maybe just a tilt table.
yeah,
So you have different lies, and I feel like that would be very easy to do. I would obviously, as a grass guy, I would love to slowly introduce more and more grass to the playing surface with the idea of eventually being full grass. That's obviously not a season 2 thing, but one can dream that maybe 5-10 years from now we're doing this entire league on a fully natural grass surface. And is that grow lights being the answer? Is that kind of like Las Vegas Raiders, does this thing just slide out the back door and go into the parking lot all week for me to maintain, and we slide it back indoors? So things like that, definitely on my mind, definitely on the mind of others that are here. Just what kind of stuff are you going to see and when? Who knows?
that'd be amazing. What do you guys do with that facility when there's not a match? Is it something people come in and they rent it out for events, or is it just kind of stagnant right now, being used solely for these matches?
Yeah, right now it's very stagnant, and that's on purpose. Obviously, we didn't want to schedule anything in the arena. There are small things that pop in and out, but it's all golf oriented for the most part. We're basically using this arena as an extension of our old labs that we were doing. So after a match, I clean up, I take the real grass out in the tee boxes. I put artificial grass tee boxes in, because we'll spend the rest of the week testing the calibration system, testing the projector colors and their lineup. I mean, we're making changes to the game, what I feel like on a daily basis, not anything major, but little fixes, and a little fix to a code can completely change it, um, make it unplayable. So we're using this as a testing facility pretty much all week until the season's over, and then I think we'll start seeing a lot more, hopefully, golf related third party events coming through. um, I can probably tell you though that the extent of our third party events is probably going to be very, very high profile. I don't think this is going to be something, at least not right now, that you can just call up SoFi Center and schedule the tee time with your buddies and play this game. But maybe in the future.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Like you said, you're always advancing, and you're gonna continue on, keep building. Who knows? Maybe one day there's another building on the other side of the states or something like that, and you got to be flying back and forth and managing two properties, right?
Yeah.
We had a lot of questions come in from the community to you, and then to be honest with you, Tanner, you did a fantastic job of covering a lot of stuff. Most of the questions got answered here, which was really cool. One person even asked, "How do you sleep at night?" So it was cool to you covered that.
I don't.
But, no, if there was anything that you want to talk about, this show is going to have your name on it. So if there's something you wanted to plug or something you wanted to talk about today, you're more than welcome to.
I mentioned in my questionnaire with you guys, and it's a conversation that I feel like the past 8-9 years I've been in the sports world, and at all of our conventions, people are saying, we're all obviously sports turf managers, but there's no golf guys there, and then vice versa at the golf conventions, there's no sports guys there, for the most part. There's one-offs here and there. Back when I was in golf, there was almost a mindset that the golf guys looked down on the sports turf guys. And I was one of them because I hadn't done sports turf before. But, in my head, I'm like, oh, we've got 1,000 acres of perfectly manicured grass. And then that sports turf guy over there has 2.5 acres on a football field. Like, how, that must be the life. He's taking care of 0.1% of what I'm taking care of. How hard could that be? Very hard, by the way. But I don't want to get into those specifics, but we all have the same end goal. And if you don't have this end goal, then maybe you're in the wrong career. But our goal should be providing the best playing surface for our players as possible. In the golf world, obviously playability is huge, but aesthetics is also just as big. You don't want a golf course to look like garbage. And then in the sports turf world, player safety comes a lot more into the conversation that it doesn't necessarily always come up in the golf world. But the divide that we have of sharing information is I think is crazy. I'm really good. I feel like with I call it my turf Twitter, even though I know it's X. It's always going to be Twitter to me.
Yeah,
The people I follow, you can go through and read the comments. The golf guys stick with their golf guys, and the sports turf guys stick with their sports turf guys. And there's some overlap, but the big conversations of technology and bringing, AI and autonomous mowers and GPS sprayers and all this kind of stuff, we're all dealing with that right now. We're all dealing with the shortage of highly well-trained groundskeepers. Hiring is a mess in the groundskeeping world. We're both dealing with that. Why aren't we communicating with each other? Why aren't we, working with each other to do that kind of stuff? And I like guys like yourself because you guys are kind of getting the word out, talking about it. Just the industry as a whole, but the industry is changing. Pretty soon it's gonna rapidly start getting a lot younger than what it is. And then the technology that's being introduced isn't futuristic anymore. Like, it's here. We've got drones that are now spot spraying 2,4-D on fields and golf courses and stuff like that. So the learning curve is about to start getting really real between the old school groundskeepers and the new school groundskeepers. And I think now's the time that that divide between sports turf and golf should start to fade. At least I hope it does. I don't know if y'all have opinions or if y'all have heard any of the same stuff that I've heard about, those types of differences. But like I said, end goal is always the same.
I mean, I've spent a lot of time, and we mentioned Weston earlier. I was managing one of our local Ohio Sports Field Managers Association, and we had that conversation quite a bit of, more so just why isn't there more interaction? And I agree. I mean, I think there is a lot of overlap. Obviously, the games played on the different fields are much different, and some of the expectations, or maybe expectations isn't the right word, but just kind of playability aspects of the certain fields might be a little different. But I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to provide the best possible conditions for whatever your field
Right.
is, and you are, like you mentioned at the very beginning, you've got a very similar crop. So there should be, I think, a little more collaboration as well. So no,
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And it's also funny because I see it bleed into our vendors as well. I always laugh, and to a certain extent I understand, but I'll be talking to a vendor, be like, "Hey, have you ever done X, Y, and Z?" They're like, "I haven't, but I could probably get my golf guy, and he's probably done that." And I'm like, why are chemical salesmen, strictly assigned to sports fields and then strictly assigned to golf? Like that kind of stuff just is weird to me. Like we're ordering the same products, we're using the same equipment.
Yeah, it's a good point. I know on the Turf Today side of things, we get people sending us stuff from golf courses, but also, soccer fields and football stadiums and stuff like that. And I can tell you those guys and those men and women are so proud of their product and they're so proud of the grass they're taking care of. So yeah, whether it's a golf course or if it's a sports turf field, it should all be, coming from the same place, and all that should be kind of supported from the same area. So we could definitely do a better job of trying to, bring those two different industries into one, because we're all pushing the ball the same way. So it should be something that's supported together.
Yeah, I agree. Turf is turf.
Turf is turf. Yeah, we're all trying to grow grass.
Turf is turf.
Like Mother Nature.
I can't say that here at my company because if I say turf, everybody assumes I'm just talking about artificial turf.
Right. Yeah,
And
I gotta get past that.
I'm that guy that I don't like saying grass. So it's turf. It's like, oh, but I thought you were talking about the real stuff. I am.
You're gonna have to put the artificial versus real in front of it when you start saying turf, huh?
Yeah, I was like, that's the whole reason why it's called artificial turf, is because turf is real.
That's right. That's good. Good point. Good point.
The trolley, just call it the TC trolley or the Tanner Coffman trolley, because if you invented it, I mean, it should be yours. There's something to be using for a long time.
You put that out there for the public to name it, and you're going to get, what is it, like Trolley McTrolley Face, or some of those random
that's
names.
the kind of stuff that's the kind of stuff I want.
Yeah,
our broadcast team calls it the Dragon, and I didn't know that they started calling it the Dragon. And I get a message one night because with our spider cam, I have to have the spider cam go to a certain area before I can start moving grass in and out. They're like, "Hey, are you doing the Dragon tonight?" And I'm like, I thought maybe they were going out to a bar or a party, and I just wasn't invited or something like that. I was like, it's the first I've heard of it, so I'm probably not going. He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I'm not going to the Dragon." He's like, "No, I'm talking about, are you moving grass?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." "Why are you talking about a dragon?" He's like, "That's what we call it." I was like, "No, we're not calling it the Dragon."
We're not calling it the Dragon.
I love it. Well, it sounds like something Adam can help you out with, and put a little survey out on Turf Today. Get some feedback on.
We'd love to come down and visit you at some point. I know we'll be in Florida a couple times this year, so if we could come and see you and maybe get some behind the scenes, that'd be really cool too.
Yeah, you got my contact, so drop by anytime.
Perfect.
Awesome.
I'll be down there in just a little over a month, so I'll hit you up. It'd be cool to see it in person.
Yeah, it's wild seeing in person, so I highly encourage you.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Tanner. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us, and sharing the insides of what happens down there at the SoFi Center. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thanks a lot, Tanner. We'll chat soon, okay, man?
Yep. See ya. Yep.
All right,
Bye-bye.
man. Take care.
Flash Weather AI is thrilled to partner with the Superintendent Network and the Turf Today communities to bring innovative weather solutions to turf managers nationwide, helping improve their day-to-day operations. With the recent acquisition of Turf Threat Tracker, T3 Golf, Flash Weather AI delivers precise, site-specific weather data tailored to turf managers. This advanced toolset empowers users with actionable insights to optimize operations and safeguard investments. Key features include forecasts up to 48 hours in advance for critical metrics like precipitation rates, soil temperatures, and moisture. These turf-focused insights enable managers to stay ahead of weather challenges, ensuring efficient operations and thriving turf grass. You can visit them at the GCSAA Conference and Trade Show in San Diego at booth number 2405, or find them on their socials or their website, flashweather.ai.
Dude, how good was that?
Man, they used the Augusta sand at the TGL?
I
Come
know.
on.
Yeah, that's
Come on.
awesome.
I thought
Well,
that sand was like exclusive for that property.
right. Well,
And
and
Tiger's
Tiger's
backyard.
place. Yeah, right. Yeah, you can get it. You can get it in Tiger's backyard.
No, that was so cool. He's a great guest. Like I said,
Oh,
he literally
fantastic.
answered all of the questions that came in.
Really?
Like, yeah, that was all about the grass and what do you do with this and what do you do with that? And he went through everything. So great guest.
Yeah. No, that was outstanding. That was yeah, I mean, same thing. I had a bunch of questions on how everything worked and all that, and he just ripped right through them, and just really fascinating to hear the backstory of all the testing and all the different things. I mean, it's you don't think about it, at least
No.
most people probably don't think about, the sand and how it's going to impact the artificial turf and all that kind of thing. How does it feed into, the artificial turf and all that kind of stuff, the impact. So the fact is like, oh, this sand isn't going to work out well. It's going to impact this. It's not going to go where it needs to go. And so having to go back to the drawing board and finding sand, that's just so interesting. Really cool.
Yeah, they definitely went hard putting this all together.
Yeah.
And could you
Yeah, they
imagine if
did.
it actually had been launched January 2024? It would have been a completely different thing.
I mean, the whole SoFi Center and all that kind of stuff, it just looks so good. I mean, I couldn't imagine what it would be with the bubble. And,
Yeah.
and like he was talking about the inability to be able to secure things from the ceiling of that space. I mean, it just seems like they've got so much stuff up there between speakers and projectors, and then obviously moving the turf in, just game changer. So, like you said, blessing in disguise, I think for sure, because
Probably.
what it ended up being is it's my simple brain can't even wrap itself around everything that they've got going on in that building. It's crazy.
Yeah. And they probably went out and got the right guy because it sounds like Tanner's got his head wrapped around that whole place and he spent the whole year learning it. So, like he said,
Yeah.
if something happens when they're out there, he's got it. So,
Yep.
talk
Yep.
about job security.
Yep, absolutely. No, I think, hopefully that thing sticks around for a while. It's definitely something fun, especially obviously during the off season here, just kind of gearing up for the golf season. It's a nice bit of entertainment to keep us golf nerds in tune with the game and see a little different side of these guys.
Yeah, for sure. Like as the game grows, there's so much more emphasis on the stats
Yeah.
and everything you see with the projector and hitting into a simulator and stuff. And where we live, you spend half the year hitting into a simulator. So why not have
Yeah.
a league where it's all involved? I wonder if one day you're actually going to be able to go on the simulator and play a bunch of these holes, or is that already a thing?
I don't know. I haven't seen it anywhere. I don't know if they're gonna basically license out their golf courses so you can
Hmm.
play them at an X Golf or something like that. I don't know. That'd be
Good idea
that'd
on
be
their
smart.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be smart. Another revenue generating opportunity. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, it's really neat. I've tuned in every week. I don't. I get a kick out of watching it. So I know the first couple matches have been blowouts and all that. So I'm looking forward to when we get to see a match that's really close.
Yeah.
It'll be nice.
And the Hammers, in fact, I think they said it was
Yeah.
Monday coming up, Rory and Tiger. Because it's
Yeah, I
usually
think
Tuesday, but I think it's different this
yeah.
week.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the rest of the TV schedule. They moved it, but yeah, I think it's Monday is Rory and Tiger, and then like you said, I think the following Monday is the triple header,
Yeah.
which would be nice to get a
Be
lot of
fun.
guys. I just wonder. I mean, some of these players, especially this week. You know, they played on Tuesday night, and then this week with the Farmers, it was a Wednesday start. So I'm wondering if these guys fly back home or into Florida, playing it on Tuesday night, and then just jump on a plane and head to the next event or what. I don't know. I don't know how that's
just
working
another
right now.
stop for those guys, eh? Like,
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. When you're on a private jet, whatever, it's probably not as bad. But
mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I wonder how that's work. I haven't exactly checked out the actual PGA Tour fields to see if some of these guys are jumping straight into the events after playing here. Because I got to imagine that's got to be tough, right?
Oh, yeah.
You see some of the shots that they're hitting on these simulators. You see, obviously they've done a really good job of testing and making sure the artificial plays just right, but it's still a little different, right? It's
Mhm.
still going to be a little different. So I wonder if that's a struggle maybe for some of these guys that go and they play Tuesday night and in the sims, and their irons may not be flying the same distances that they're used to, or whatever it may be. I wonder if that's been a challenge for some of these guys that have played.
It's always nice to have an excuse when you're on the golf course, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Guys,
Yep.
I was at TGL yesterday. Come on.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
expect?
right. That's right. That's right.
Trying to
Yeah.
hit over the lip.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. How cool is that though, too? I mean, he just says the lip was just a random idea, like, hey,
Yeah.
this is weird. They're in a fairway bunker that would have a 6-foot lip in front of them. We got to have something for them to hit
Gotta
over.
do
So
something.
so they just go in and they tinker with something, and sure enough, yep, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It's
So I think that
cool.
stuff like that over the next couple of years, you're just going to see it integrated in, and they're going to keep improving it.
Yep. Wow. I always have the fear, if they did something like that for us at X Golf or, one of those other indoor simulator places, you'd get that lip right in front of you. I mean, everyone else in the building needs to watch out, because that
Put a
thing,
mouth guard on or something.
I think that's it. I'm in it, straight into it. That's the real game.
Really want to thank Tanner Coffman for joining us today. It's an awesome, awesome episode, being able to interview somebody like that who's involved in something that's so new to our industry and so new to the golf world. It's, there's so many questions and so many unknowns, and this is a really fun one that we got to do. We're really fortunate, and like I said, thank you so much, Tanner, for gracing us with your presence, and we're definitely going to come down there and visit you. We also got to throw a huge shout out to our amazing sponsors, the Toro Company, the Andersons, and Flash Weather AI. Be good, everybody. If you're going down to the conference, look out for us, reach out to us. Can't wait to see you all. If you're not, we will still have an episode coming out next Tuesday, and we're going to do a big recap show the following week. So if you do happen to miss a show, we're hoping we can fill that little void for you. All right, everybody, keep those reels sharp. We'll see you soon.